Okay, we're learning Lilo Nishmas Geres Basara. Neshama should have an aliyah. We're up to the Chavtes Amid Aleph. Tan Rabbanan Mivalin Talmud Torah Loitzas Hames. You're Mivatal Talmud Torah for Levayas Hames. Accompanying a mace being taken out. Ulachnos go in Levaya. Ulachnos Kala. Rashi says Lil voice mi beisavia lebeis kupasa. To accompany the kala from a father's house to the chuppah, and the hafla in Yud Zayin and Ksuba says not dafka the kala, but who did the chasen? Who did the chasen? We mevatel Talmud Torah wad for chasen. Amru Allah Rabbi Yehuda ben Bar Eloi. It says on Rabbi Yehuda Bar Eloi, showing mevatel Talmud Torah loitzos hameis ulachnas hakala. So this Tanur Rabbanon, Rabbi Yehuda ben Eloi, he personified it. He kept doing. He was mevatel Talmud Torah for the accompanying of a mace going to Levaya and to go again accompanying a kala or a chasen from their house to the chuppah. The medav mamur. And when do you do this? B'shein shom called sarchai. If you don't have enough people to go ahead and that's called sarchai. Aval yesh shom called sarchai. You have the necessary amount of people for it to be considered Bakovid Dikalevayu, Bakovid Dikawad Simcha, they name a vat, then you're not vatal Torah for that. The Kama called Sarchai, how much is considered called Sarchai? So Amrav Shmuel Bar Anyam Mishmei Derav, Tresa Alfe Gavre, 12,000 men, Vishisa Alfe Shipuri, and in addition to the 12,000, another 6,000 blowing shofes, which they used to do, they would blow shofes. No, a total of, this would be 18,000 people. 18,000 people. Emila, others say no, you don't need 18,000, but Tresa Alfi Gavre, 12,000 people, Shisa Alfi Shifru Bure. And among the 12,000, 6,000, half of them are blowing shofars. Ula Amar, Ula says, probably not that many. Going the Chaitzi Gavre, men make a chayitza, they make a mechitza, me'avula at Sichra, from the town and the gates of the city until the Beis HaKfaris, which was outside the city, they would go ahead and make like a wall of people. That's the amount that if you have that amount, you would have to be mevatel Torah. Anything less, you'd have to be mevatel Torah for. Rav Shesha says, Kinisinasa, the same amount of people to the Torah was given, kach netilasai. So when the Torah is taken away, Manisinasai b'shishim ribui, just like the Torah was given with 600,000 people, right? After tilasa, so to a person whose the Torah is taken away, they're dying, is b'samech ribui with 600,000. So hani mili, when do you have to move out the Torah? Leman de kari v'tani, someone who learns chumash, right? Someone learns mishnayos. Aval leman de masni, someone who teaches Torah, less the shiuri, there is not a share. There's no share. The share for the amount of people is not. There's no called sarchai for a person that's a rebbe, a teacher. There's everyone has to be vatal Torah to go ahead and accompany the wife. So there's a story over here. That I heard. It was an amazing story. Near on Reb Moshe Yeshiva on where was it located in the east side? Which street? Remind me of the street. East Broadway, right? On East Broadway there was a funeral home, right? And Reb Moshe was makbid. But Moshe was makbid to always avoid going in front of the funeral home, because he held this Gemara. And in fact, there was a mice that happened, mice shahoya that happened was an amazing mice. I told it over in Shia more than once, but the people who are new in Shia did not hear the story. There was a Noyalinu. There was a woman who was married to a Kayin, and she was physically abused. She was raped. And we know that an anusa is a kohen. Kohen's wife's an anusa. He has to divorce his wife. He can't live with his wife if she's an anusa. So they asked the shilas in Eretz Yisrael, and a person was coming to America. They said, "America, please present the shilah to Rav Moshe." Right? Anyway, the person came to Rav Moshe. It's amazing how easy it was to get to Rav Moshe. That's what I said. Anyway, Rav Moshe, you walked in. It's amazing. You walked in. Right? You just walked in, and he was there. Anyway, so they brought this difficult shilah. What? David also, right. You just walked in, right. Just walked in. So the most difficult shilah, they brought this person, and they present the shilah to Rav Moshe, And Moshe said, "There's up. There's a kohen. Who says he's a kohen? No, we have an aide over here who's masking to it. How do you know he's a kohen? In other words, mishpacha, yeah, but we don't know unequivocally if a person's a kohen. So Verzak is a kohen. He answered the shaila like this. So the person was there, said he's part of Moshe already. He might as well ask, because how many people have to be by Levaya that it shouldn't have to come? And when Moshe said, "Das is Takash Shvera Shaila." That's a hard question. So what you think is what you think is the hardest question? What's that? That Moshe did away with in a second. A Shaila that you would think, oh, come on, das is Takash Shvera Shaila. And when Moshe Taka was makbid, he would walk around so he wouldn't have to be present by this funeral home on Eastboard Way because of this problem. It's been fascinating, right? Yeah. It's gone. Yeah, but it was there. It was there.
Yeah, our first off was actually across the street from them.
Yeah. Okay. Anyway, so interesting Maisa. Says the Gemara Vayta. Tanya, Reb Shimon ben Yochai says, "Bo re'ei, come and see, kama chavivin Yisrael v'nei Hakadosh Baruch Hu. How dear b'nei Yisrael are in front of Hakadosh Baruch Hu. Shebechol makom shegalu, every place that they go into Galus, Shechina imahem, the Shechina is with them. Galu Mitzrayim, you went to Mitzrayim, Shechina imahem, the Shechina was with us. Shnamar, hanigdal legveisli the base of Icha, the Yosim Mitzrayim. Hakadosh Baruch Hu says to Eli, the Yosim Mitzrayim when we were Mitzrayim. Galu leBavel, they went to Bavel. Shechina imahem, the Shechina was with them. Shnamar lemanchem shel Vavela. I know that I sent to Bavel the bubbles. You see, I shlachted the Bavel. The Afkashin Asin Goil, and even when they will be redeemed, Shechina Imahem, the Shechina is among them. Shnemar V'shav Hashem Elokecha Eshevuscha, and Hakadosh Baruch Hu, it says V'shav, he'll return as Hashem Elokecha Eshevuscha. He will return Shevuscha your captives. It's V'heshev Lo Nemar. It doesn't say he'll bring you back. Ela V'shav, he'll return. No, he'll return with them. Malamed Shakadosh Baruch Hu shavi mahem mi bein hagolias Bavel. And says the word Bavel Heicha. Where is the Shechina in Bavel? Where is the Shechina in Bavel? So Amar Abayis is Abaya the Bekenishta the Hutzel. There's a town called Hutzel in Bavel, and there's a base of Knesset over there, and the Shechina is found over there. Bekenishta the Shaf. The Yosef ben Adai, and the base Kanishta the Shaf, the Yosef ben Adai. We'll see what that is. Don't say there's Shechina by both of them. Sometimes over there and sometimes it's over there. Amar Abaye Teisili should be a reward for me. Parsa, when I was going ahead and I was a parsa away from the shuls, Alina Matzin Hassan, I would go daven in the shul about either the shul of Bekenishta the Shafi Yosef. So he would daven in the shul. Avu the Shmuel v'Levi Havi Yosef Bekenishta the Shafi Yosef ben Adai. They were sitting in this shul. Asya Shechina, the Shechina came. Shama called Riksha. They heard some kind of motion. Come move enough. The Shechina was there. They got up and left. Rav Sheshes, who was blind, it wasn't easy for him to go ahead. Havi Yosef Bekenishta the Shafi Yosef ben Adai. He went to this base Knesset. After all, this is a place where the Shechina was found. This is a Makom Torah. Shein Kamo was a place to for school of Torah. Asya Shechina v'Leinafik. He didn't leave. Also, Malchei Hasharis come violated. They were scaring Rav Sheshes that he should leave. Amal fun of Rav Sheshes is Banish Loilam. Olive Shein a person who's an olive, a nebuch, and a person who's not a nebuch. Me. So no, they melachim, they can leave. But look at me, I can't leave. I'm a sagina. I'm blind. I'm a suma. So Amalahu. So therefore, Kadosh Baruch Hu said, "Shafku, leave him alone," and that's what happened. Okay. This Beis Medrash, the Shafi Yosef, what is it? Says Rashi, 4 lines down. The Shaf, he took it apart, the Yosef, and he reestablished. Guys, he took it apart, demolished, the Yosef, and reestablished. Ubana Yechanya went into Gullus. We all know this. He went into Gullus 7 years before. Right? 11 or 7. 7 years before, right? 7 years before. The Sayatoi, the Avonim v'Offer, they took the stones and of dirt. Sheviu imahem bikalusam. L'kaim hashnemar ki ratzu avadecha es avanecha. Your avodim, they want your avanecha besafori cheneu. So these people, it was very, very dear to them, the offer of Eretz Yisrael and the stones of Eretz Yisrael. In fact, it was so dear that these were, in fact, were from the Beis Hamikdash. These stones were from the Beis Hamikdash. The offer, Rashi doesn't say it, but the Aruch says it, the Marsha says it, that this was what? This was stones and off from the Beis Hamikdash. So can you imagine, Yechoni goes into Golus, he took a piece of Eretz Yisrael with him. He took more than that. He took a piece of Eretz Yisrael, and that's why the Shechina would make sense. The Shechina of all the places involved would be by this unique place, this place of what of this base Knesset, the Shafi Yosef. So there's a Chasam Sofer in the Tshuva, the Shalos and Tshuva Chasam Sofer Reis Samech Daled. He has a very famous question. L'chayre fellas, the Beis Hamikdash had kedusha. How is he able to go ahead and use something that's kaddish? There's a din of me'ilah. We know you're moil behegdish. You can't use something that's kaddish. So how is he able to go ahead and use this? How is he able? It's nice that they had the shechina was there, but now you have to lift a shakasha, right? Like, how could they use it? It was the chayr, is a din of me'ilah. So he gives a teretz, and it's very fascinating. It's a pasuk. The pasuk in Yecheskel says that uva pritzim v'chalaluha. Uvo or Pitzim, the Pitzim came and they were Mechalal. We learned, I think, in Shkolim, when we were discussing the Beis HaMikdash, we were discussing the Ezras Nashim, and Yuma, certainly in Yuma, and one of the corners of the I forgot which corner it was, that was the place that they took the Mizbeach, the stones in Mizbeach, and they stored it in that place. In the Ezras Nashim, there were 4 chambers. There was the lishkas of the Chalifas that you go ahead and you have your tickets, you get the Shem and your oil. There was the Lishkas HaNazirim, when the Nazirim would go ahead. There was the Lishka HaMitzrayim, and there was a Lishka that was the place where they hid the Mizbeach, right? They hid the Mizbeach. What's Pshat? Why they hide the Mizbeach? I was Kodesh. And the answer is no. The answer is that Ubo Pritzim v'Chalua. The Pritzim came and they were Mechalit. If a poritz is once the Yevonim came and they were machal the mizbeach, they took it apart and they put it away. You can't use it anymore. So who are the Babylonians? The Babylonians came. The Nebuchadnezzar is the one who put Yechonia into Galus, right? And therefore they were machal it. Since they were machal it, therefore what? They were able to take it. It didn't have kedusha anymore, and therefore there was no dinamila. That's the teretz. That's the kasha and teretz. But basically, in this very special, unique place, had the shechina. Now the shechina is everywhere, fellas. We know. The Gemara says even one person. The Gemara goes through in learning. If 10 people come together, the shechina is there before. Even one person learns Torah, the shechina is there. The shechina is all over. So what do you mean the shechina is a bubble? There's different manifestations of the shechina, right? The shechina is everywhere. Hashem Haratz Maloya. Hashem is here, Hashem is there, Hashem is truly everywhere, in the infamous words of Uncle Moshe, if I can quote him. Only I can quote the Chasam Sofer and Uncle Moshe in the same breath, right? So again, it's like, of course the Shekhinah is there, right? It's Fashtetzach. But we know, of course, there are different places with different manifestations of the Shekhinah. In the Beis HaMikdash, and even in the Beis HaMikdash, different places had different Kedusha. That you went from the Harabayas to the Ezras Nashim, the Ezras Nashim to the Azara. The one had a din of Machna Levia, one had the Machna Shechina. So you see that what? And the Kachei Kedoshim, so certainly we're speaking about the Shechina, we're speaking about the manifestation of the Shechina. We saw the Gemara, the Shechina left in certain stages, and then waited, and then finally it just left. Okay, so this is what the Gemara means over here.
Once the job is done, it's finished, there's no meaning on it.
What's the job?
It was a building, and not a building is a lot, so the stones move.
That's when you do a mitzvah.
Right?
That's when you do a mitzvah, remember. You're thinking you do a mitzvah. When you do a mitzvah and it's no longer the mitzvah, then once the mitzvah is done, that's because the mitzvah was done. After you Zyrek it, because you did the Mila, right? After you Zyrek. But there's things that are Kaddish to Kaddish, right? Yeah. Well, if you could Magdash it again, if you build the Beis HaMikdash again and use these stones, yeah, certainly could be reestablished. But I mean, this is Kedusha's Beis Knesses. This is a Beis Knesses, not even Beis Medrash. Kedusha's Beis Knesses. Says the pasuk, "Va'ihi la lahem lemigdash mat." I have been for them a migdash mat. Amar Yitzchak, So now we'll speak to the Kedushas of a base Knesses. Elu Bati Knesses, the Bati Midrashis of Bavel. This refers to the Bati Knesses, Bati Midrashis of Bavel. That what these are Migdash Ma'at. They're compared to a small base of Migdash. Rebbe Loza, this is the Amoyer of Loza ben Pados. Amazeh base Rabbeinu. This is the house of Rav Sheba Bavel. The house of Rav and Bavel. That Rav's house is considered a Migdash Ma'at. Dorish Rava, Maidich Siv Hashem Ma'on Ato HaYusalanu. Ma'on means an abode, a place. Elu Bati Knesses, Bati Midrashis. That refers to Bati Knesses, Bati Midrashis. Again, Ein Lakadosh Baruch Hu Elu Dalar Amashal Alacha Fashteitzach. This is HaKadosh Baruch Hu is going to be with his base tefillah, or a base knes or a base medrash. I'm Rabbi. Mereish initially have a garisna bebesi. I used to go ahead and learn in my house. Umatzlinu bekinista, and I would daven in the bekinista in base knesses. However, keeping the shamis la David, since I heard David said, Hashem ahafti ma'on beisecha, HaKadosh Baruch Hu love ma'on beisecha. I would garsina bekinista. I would go not only learn in my house, I would not stop learning in my house. I would learn in the base knesses. Tanya, Rabbi Loza Kapo Omer, Asidim Bat Kinisios the Bati Midrash Sheba Bavel, Sheikvu Beretz Yisrael, that they can be Kaveh in Eretz Yisrael, Shnemar, Ki Katavo Behorim Uchakamel Bayom, Yavai. So here's what happened. It says B'Shas Mount Torah, the mountains of the mountain of Mount Tavor and the Mount Carmel, they left Eretz Yisrael and they came to Sinai. They came to Sinai. We're going to see they came. Now what it means obviously means the Sar came. They didn't uproot the mountain. The Sar of the mountain came. The Malach that's in charge of the mountain. They only came for a time. Nikvayim Eretz Yisrael. They're Kabei in Eretz Yisrael. Bati Knisios the Bati Midrashis Shekairin Umayt Bitzim Em Torah. But the Knisios Bati Midrashis where you read and your Marbitz Torah, Alachas Kama V'Kama, they'll be uprooted and go into Eretz Yisrael. There are days that Tov and Carmel were initially weren't in Eretz Yisrael. They came from other places, right? So now this was said in a positive way that the mountains were. It's a positive thing that the mountains came. There's another way to darshan this. Why are you prancing your majestic peaks? Right? Why are you going ahead and prancing with Sinai? Like you're coming to claim these old mountains came. They wanted the Torah to be given on them, right? It's another song, right? That you want the Torah to be given me. I am a mountain so high, I can reach right up to the sky. The Torah should be given on me. Good. Now, so kulchem bali mumim atem etzel Sinai. Etzel Sinai you're bali mumim. Etzel Sinai you're bali mumim. Ksiv hacha. It says give nunim. It says over here give nunim. It says lama terbitzun harim give nunim. Uksiv hasam, and it says in the parsha of mumim o gibein oidak. So gibnunim is the same shirish as gibein. So you are all considered Eitzel Sinai. You are considered what? You are considered bali mumim. Amar Vashi Shmamina Hayman Diyor. A person who's a balgaiva balmumhu. Because again, each mountain wanted it to be on him, and the reason why Kadosh Baruch Hu chose Sinai because Sinai was an anav. He was humble. That's the midah of Kadosh Baruch Hu. That's the midah. Right? Moshe was what? Is the most biggest anivis. That's the midah that Kadosh Baruch Hu loves the most. Sinai was given it to Malachim. So therefore, according to this, I guess Har Tover and Har Carmel, they were coming for different reasons. Ain't oisin I say kapendaria. You can't make a base knesses a kapendaria. You can't make it a shortcut. So my kapendaria, where's the lashon of kapendaria? So Amarava, kapendaria is kishma. My kishma. What does it mean kishma? Kimando Amar ademakpinon adrei el beha. When you circle the houses, why circle the walls? Go through here. No, it's going to take a shortcut. Go through the alleyway. So you see the word if you take the word akatapinya adre, put it together, you get kapandria or kapendaria. Amravo imhaya shvil meikara. Let's say it was a shortcut, and then you built a shul over it. Mutta you don't take away the shortcut. Amrav Nachman Yitzchak hanichnas hamanashalei lasais kapendaria. Someone goes into a shul for the purpose that not to make the shul a kapendaria. Then mutala saisa kapendaria. Then if you went in for the purpose not to make it, then you'll be able to make it. From Rav Chelbo, Rav Huna, hanichnas lebeis hakneses espalo mutala saisa kapendaria. You can go in one door out the other as long as you're davening. Shnemar ubavoy ima aretz lefnei Hashem b'may adam You come into bow down the north, you can go out in the south. In fact, that's the halacha, guys. Let's say, I'll give you a very good example. You're going through the shul over here, right? You want to go over there. You want to make a shortcut. Go out here in the shul. Sit down a second. You say a pasuk. You sit down a second. That's halacha. You say a pasuk, and then you're good. So the Mishnah said, if a churva, you had a shul, there's a churva, and there was the grass grew, do not cut the grass, leave it. You should have agmas nefesh, that you should go remember what it once was like, what was there, and you should and daven, and as a result, you'll be chayz of tshuva, and maybe HaKadosh Baruch Hu should restore it al yoshna back to its previous glory. But Tanya, in a toilish Michael, you can't cut it to feed it to animals. You can cut it in miniach. So how can the Mishnah say you can't cut it? The Mishnah meant that don't cut it and feed it to animals, but you can cut it and leave it there. Tran, Machal Tran. Ton Rabbanan. Beis HaKvaris ain't noigim in Kalas Rosh. Beis HaKvaris is a serious place. You should not be noigim Kalas Rosh in the Beis HaKvaris. Ein Maram ben Behemo, you don't graze animals in the Beis HaKvaris. In Molichim ben Amasamayim, you don't go have an irrigation dish over there. Rashi brings and may go ahead and cause disturbance to the bones. You don't gather asavim from there. If you do gather asavim, then sarfim, you go ahead and burn them if they cover that mace. Hey, covered mace, what's going on? On the last din, here says sarfim, my covered mace. What cover do you give into the mace by burning it? It says Resha. It's going back in the Resha. Don't go ahead and be noye kalas roish in a cemetery. Why? Because of the covered mace. Covered mace to not be noye kalas roish. That's what it's saying. Covered mace. Okay, Derek, the Mishnah we're going to bring in. If you have your phones, I sent you a phone. On your phone, I sent a message on your phone. If you don't have your phone, we're going to put it on the screen here. And you can see this, guys. Yeah, good. Tafresh Pehei and Tafresh Pehei. This is the Hakdama. This is the Mishnah Berurah. Yes. Veshchodesh Adar. Avar b'kitzer inyan ar parshiyos. I'll explain briefly the 4 parshiyos. Who Chazal tiknu likreis abar parshiyos. Chazal metaking to learn the 4 parshiyos. Shkolim, Zachar, Para, and Chodesh. Me'esh Chodesh Adar ad Rosh Chodesh Nisan. The 4 weeks from Rosh Chodesh Adar from Nisan, you learn the following. Lezichrein Arba Devarim. V'heim Elu. Harishonim hi Parsha Shkolim. Lezichrein Mitzvahs Machzas HaShekel. As a remembrance of the mitzvahs of Machzas HaShekel. Sheyisbar B'samach. That I'll explain soon. And we'll explain in the Gemara as well. Sheyimechuyav Litein L'Lishka. They would mechuyev to put in the chamber lekarbon tamid b'chol shana every year. Hashniya, the 2nd week, he Parsha Zachar. Lisker Ma'aseh Molek, to remember the Ma'aseh Molek. The Korinesa b'Shabbos Shnei Purim. We read it in the Shabbos that precedes Purim. L'samcha l'Ma'aseh Haman shayim mizera Molek, to be samich the Ma'aseh of Haman, who was from the seeds of Amalek. Ukdei lahagdim zechiras mechias Amalek lasiyasa, to go ahead and preface the remembrance of Amalek to the Asiyah of Amalek. As we are all familiar with already, by Yom Ha'elu Niskar and V'nasim, we have a hekesh between Zakira and V'naseh, between reading the Megillah, V'nasim, and the Mitzvah Sayyim. Good. That's so. Therefore, we mentioned Niskarim V'nasim. Hashlishis, the third week, he parshas Paraduma. V'i b'Shabbos shekoydim parshas HaChodesh. This comes before Parshas HaChodesh. Shekein ha'yisrei fasa b'midbos samach l'Nisan. The burning of the Paraduma took place before Nisan. To sprinkle on Klal Yisrael the Ephah of the Chatas miyad. Acha comes the Mishkan after the Mishkan was set up. Kadesh you tahorim, they should be tahor. V'yuchlo lasais Pesach bismanai, to bring the carbon Pesach bismanai. They brought 1 carbon Pesach. They had to take care of Tamei Meis, and therefore they needed the Paraduma. L'kach koyim parsha zu. Therefore we learned the parsha of Para l'hispalo lefanav Yisbarach. That even though now we don't have guys the Paraduma, we do, says the Mishnah Berurah, it's l'spalu lefanav Yisbarach shegam aleinu yizrak mayim tohirim b'mehera. So it's a tefillah. Parshas Para is a tefillah. Now we daven to Kadosh Baruch Hu, just as the Paraduma is mitame mesim, so to Kadosh Baruch Hu should be mitar us quickly. Haravi, the 4th parsha is Parshas HaChodesh b'Shabbos hasamech L'Reish Chodesh. It's the one it's next to Reish Chodesh, right? This month is Reish Chodashim. Be aware that that's not the Ikar Kiddush. Why? Ikar Kiddush who based Riyas Levana when you see the Levana. Bezdin, Veina Kriya Zais Midrabanan. The Kriya, this Kriya is only Midrabanan. So this is a brief akdama for the 4 parshiyos, because the Mishnah we're going to learn now is the source for the 4 parshiyos. Again, I find it fascinating that Megillah, we think of the Megillah, but we did a tremendous analysis of the Megillah. We saw the halachas of the Megillah, where to read it, when to read it, how to read it. We saw the pshat in the Megillah, the agadah of the Megillah, but primary halachas that are noig all year round are the halachas of Kriya, the halachas of the Aliyah, the halachas of the Hilchas Kedushas Beis Knesses, and now the halachas of the four parshiyos. So this is very, very, be aware, this is a very good source of, limud. If you want to learn with your grandchildren or children, whoever you're holding, this is a very, very good masechta to learn, the prat, the latter parakim, which somehow go by the wayside. Says the Mishnah, Reish Chodesh Adar shechalias b'Shabbos. If Reish Chodesh Adar falls out on Shabbos, korim b'Parsha Shkolim. So now, if Reish Chodesh Adar, guys, falls out on Shabbos, you're going to have four weeks. Again, all the 4 parshas have to be in Adar. So if Reish Chodesh falls out on Shabbos, so you have to read it then, because again, it's the first week. Chalias b'Seicha Shabbos. What happens if it's going to be what? In the middle of the week. Then Makdimin l'Sha'avar. Then you're going to go ahead and you're going to lane it the week before. You won't lane it in Adar. If Adar falls out on Wednesday, you're laning it still in Shvat. You're laning in Shvat. Umafsikin l'Shabbos acheres. And then you would skip a week. Why? Guys, because you always want Parshas Zachor to be next to the week of Purim, the preceding what? Purim. So therefore, mafsikin l'Shabbos acheres, you'll be mafsik that Shabbos, the first Shabbos, and the Shniya, and the second week of Adar, then Zachor, you'll lane Zachor, because the week after that, you're going to have what? The Kriyas HaMegillah. The Shlishis, the third week the third week is Para Aduma, you lane Parshas Para. The Revi'is, the 4th week of Adar, you lane HaChodesh HaZelachem, which we all call Parshas HaChodesh. The Chamishis, the 5th week after you're in Nisan already, Chayzin l'Kesidron, right? You go back to the Seder. Now, the Gemara, we're going to have machloikis what this means. Does it mean that we leave the order of the parshiyos, meaning we lane different parshiyos, and now we go back to the order of the parshiyos, or we lane different haftoiris? That's how we paskin. We lane different haftoiris, and we're going to go back to the order of haftoiris. But be aware, there's an opinion that you lane different parshiyos. L'chol mafsikin, for everything, every special occasion, we leave the classic laning or of the haftarah. Reish Chodashim, on Reish Chodesh we go to Koyamar. The Chanukah we lane what's Chanukah, Bepurim and Purim. B'Taniyos u'Ma'amadais when it was Noyig be Yom Kippur, right? Yom Kippur. Okay, now just the last Tosfos on the page. L'chol mafsikin liyom Kippurim tzarich leimar the Ma'iri b'minchas Yom Kippurim. It can't be speaking about Yom Kippur on Shabbos. It has, Yom Kippur. Yom Kippur on Shachris, it's got to be speaking about Yom Kippur, Shechalias b'Shabbos. So now, guys, if Yom Kippur falls out on Shabbos, so you would think you would lane the normal parsha of Shabbos, right? But Ahei Kamar, Shemafsikim in Aseder, you don't lane the normal parsha. Shechal bois Shabbos, the current parsha Aroyas, you lane the parsha of Aroyas, which we lane every Yom Kippur. V'chein b'chol hani, so to all of these. Shein Korin El Gimel. Anytime you only lane call up 3 people. You're going Taniyos, Uma'amadais, the Chanukah Purim. So guys, if Chanukah falls out on a Monday, what are you laning? Are you laning the parsha of the week, or are you laning Chanukah? We're laning Chanukah, right? We're laning Chanukah. If Purim falls out on a Monday or a Thursday, we're laning what? We're going to be laning Purim. So that's what. So Tais is pointing out when it says Mafsikim Rosh Chodesh and Chanukah Purim B'Tainus Mamades. It's speaking about not the Shachris morning. It's speaking about it's speaking about the 3. Yom Kippur. It's speaking about when Yom Kippur falls out on Shabbos by Mincha, And the other by Tainus and by Chanukah and Purim, by that's speaking b'shachris. That's speaking b'shachris anytime you call up 3 people. Okay, weiter. Tan Hasam. The Echa ba'Adar, on the first day of Adar, Mashmiim al Shkolim, they would go ahead and announce to get the Shkolim together, right? We learned this in Masech Shkolim, but they would go ahead and announce to get the Shkolim together because, again, as we're going to see, you had to bring on the Chodesh Nisan, you had to bring the Kabbanis from the new coins. Bala Kalayim, and also the Kalayim, we tell the people who are going out to the fields to be oiker any Kalayim that's growing there. So Bishlem HaKalayim is Manzriyahi. It's a time of people checking out this Riyah, right? Rashi says. Right. It's recognizable. Ella ala shkolim minolan. Why shkolim? Why do you mashpin? Why in Rosh Chodesh Adar are we mashpin al shkolim? Why do we announce that to the shkolim? So Rav Tavi says of Tavi, Rav Yoshia, the pasuk says, Zois oilis chodesh b'chodshoy, and then it says a bunch of right. Kol hani chadashim lamli. What does it say? Zois oilis chodesh b'chodshoy. Amatayra chadesh, renew, va'abo carbon, and bring a carbon mitruma chadasha from the new crop, from the new coins. The key with the Nisan boy akruhi mitruma chadasha, and since in Nisan we have to go ahead and bring new karbanis, kadminon v'karinon be'echad ba'adar. We go ahead and a month before we call out an echad ba'adar ki hechi delesi shkolim lemigdash, in order that the shkolim would arrive in the migdash. Good. So that's the reason. So now we read on Rosh Chodesh Adar, we read Pasha Shkolim. Why? To say that this is the time the Shkolim send your Shkolim in, get them together, because in a month we're going to at least buy karbanis from the new Shkolim, because Zois Oilas Chodesh B'Chodshoy Chadesh V'Aba Korban Mitrumas Chadasha. Kiman, that you need a month before. Who is that according to? The like Reb Shimon Gamliel. It's not like Reb Shimon Gamliel. The Reb Shimon Gamliel, Ha'amar Shtei Shabbosais. It's called Reb Shimon Gamliel. He says what? 2 weeks. The Tanya, Shoyim B'Hilchas Pesach, Koydin Pesach, Shleishim Yoim. We start learning Hilchas Pesach a month before. And Reb Shimon Gamliel, Shtei Shabbosais, you have 2 weeks is enough. So 2 weeks, just like 2 weeks is enough to learn the halachas, 2 weeks is enough to collect the what? To collect the shkolim. Says the Gemara, no. Lav dafka, afilu tamer of Shimon Gamliel. You can even say it's according to Shimon Gamliel. Kivin the Amamar, Chamisha Asaboy, on the 15th day, Shulchanis, the 15th day of Adar, Shulchanis Yoshvim Medina. The Shulchanis would go ahead and sit in the Medina. Guys, these are the Shulchanis. They were money changers. They would go ahead and change your monies. In other words, you had to see silver coins. They would change to copper coins to silver coins. Silver coins to gold coins, they would, make it more easy transportable. So these on the 15th day they were there. And Chafei, they would sit in the Migdash again. As Chafei is getting close to the time of it, so you want to make sure you bring the Machzas shekel. So you have these people ready to go ahead and provide the Machzas shekel for you. You would give 2 quarters and you get your 50-cent piece. I'm just making that up, but it give you an idea, right? Okay. Therefore, Kadminon v'Karinon. Since on the 15th day of the month is sitting away, you're going to go 2 weeks earlier, which is it was Rosh Chodesh. Therefore, you go even Rabbi Shimon ben Gamliel be maida that mashkilan shkolim mat 2 weeks before. My pasha shkolim. What exactly is pasha shkolim? What is pasha shkolim? So you'd all say, "What guys? Kisisa." So Rav says, "Saves b'nei Yisrael mat aleim as karbani lachmi." So this is the pasha we read on every Rosh Chodesh, guys, right? This is the parsha of the Karban Tamid that we read on every Rosh Chodesh. So that's the parsha of Pasha Shkolim. What does that have to do with Shkolim? We'll see. Ushmul Amar Kisisa. And Shmuel says you read the parsha of Kisisa is where that you counted the people using what? Shkolim. Abishleim in the Madiyama Kisisa, Hainu the Karle Pasha Shkolim, because in fact they were going ahead and counting Shkolim. The Chesiv Be Shkolim. El Madiyama es Karbani Lachmi, Midi Shkolim Kasiva Hasam. Does it say anything about Shkolim? It doesn't say anything about Shkolim. It says in time of Kid Rav Tavi. The time is like Rav Tavi. That's Rav Tavi. He's the one who said Chadesh Haba Kavim Mitrumas Chadasha. So it's Kavani Lachmi Shai. The whole purpose, guys, of the Shkolim is to buy new karbanis. What is the pasuk as Karbani Lachmi speaking about karbanis? So therefore, that's Pasha Shkolim. It doesn't say the word Shkolim, but it says the purpose of the Shkolim. The purpose of the Shkolim with the purchase karbanis is Karbani. So Rav says it's Karbani, and Shmuel says Shkolim Mamish Kisisa. Now, Bishlam Lamad Yom Tzaves Bnei Yisrael, very good according to Rav, who says you read Tzaves Bnei Yisrael, Mishum Dechsivi Kabanis. That's why you read it. Hasam Kidarav Tavi. Almanim Kisisar Kabanis Mikasivi. It doesn't say, the purpose of Shkolim was Kabanis. It doesn't say anything about Kabanis in the Pasha of Kisisa. Says the Gemara, Bishlam Almad Kisisa Kabanis Mikasivi. Shkolim Nadanim Kasivi. The purpose of Shkolim is what? Is the purpose, guys, of buying the silver sockets. So it's, in other words, there's no remes to what? There's no remes to Kabanis. And for the Gemara, Tanya Rabbi Yosef, Sholish Trumas Hain. Look at Rashi, guys. Sholish Trumas, Nemru, Shom. It says, Machzis HaShekel Truma LaShem. Yitain Truma LaShem. Lasa says Truma Hashem. So you have three. What do you have three for? Back in the Gemara. Sholish Trumas Hain. Shel Mizbeach. One for the Mizbeach, the Mizbeach. The Truma, the separation of the Shkolim, the Mizbeach. So therefore, that's the answer to the Kasha. It is mentioning it. Since it says it 3 times, we are mentioning Kabbanis. Shel Adonim, one of them, the separation for the sockets, Ladonim. Shel Bedek Habayis, and one Lebedek Habayis for the use of the Beis Hamikdash, Bedek Habayis. So therefore, everyone held serve. If the purpose is what? Shkolim, it says Shkolim. If the purpose of Shkolim is Kabbanis, it says Kabbanis. Now, Bishleim Mandiyama Kisisa Shmuel Hainu Dishani Haimer Shchodesh Mishar Rosh Chodashim. Guys, clearly Parsha Shkolim, you have to make a hakara. Parsha Shkolim is different. We're announcing Mashmiyan, right? If you're telling me that Kisisa is what you lane, and it's Rosh Chodesh, people are going to say, I have a recognition. This is different than other Rosh Chodashim. Every other Rosh Chodesh, what are you laning? As Karbani Lachmi Lishai, you're laning right Rosh Chodashim. You're laning that parsha. You're laning the parsha and Parshas Pinchas. Yeah. So Bishleima, like the Manim Kisisa, you have a hecker between this Rosh Chodesh and other Rosh Chodashim, right? Elaman Yom, according to Rav, Sabbath Karbani, my Shani. What difference do you have? So they medayik over here that they want to medayik over here. Places read that they used to lane the whole parsha. Not like we lane. We don't on Rosh Chodesh. We lane from Rosh Chodashim, right? We don't lane from as Karbani Lachmi, right? We do lane as Karbani. We do lane. Oh no, but by the Haftarah we don't. By the Haftarah we don't lane as Karbani. The Haftarah Parshas Shalom we don't. The Haftarah we don't. The Haftarah because we don't lane this. We don't lane this. Okay, anyway. So Shani Dila Rosh Chodashim Kari Shisa Binyanai Diyuma on Rosh Chodesh. You lane 6 in the parsha at hand. V'chad b'd Rosh Chodesh, and the last part is Rosh Chodesh. V'ilo idna kula mid Rosh Chodesh. Everything is all Rosh Chodesh. So therefore, since the whole thing's Rosh Chodesh, you have a hecker. So usually, let's say it was Parshas B'Shalach, you lane B'Shalach, and the last thing would be Rosh Chodesh. It was Parshas Shkolim, you lane Rosh Chodesh throughout. That's according to Rav. Now he said, I pointed out in the Mishnah, guys, right? That when it says Chamishi, you return to the Sidron, it could even mean you go back to the normal order of the Parshiyos or the Haftarahs. So Bishleim, Elamandi Yama to say the Parshiyos who Chayzer, Elamandi Yama to say the Haftarahs who Chayzer, who Parshasa the Yuma Karinan, my Shani. Bishleim, according to Mama, that you're changing the Parsha, you go back, right? You go back. Elamandi Yama to say the Haftarahs who Chayzer, who Parshasa the Yuma Karinan, and you're laying the normal parsha like Rav, my shani. You don't have a difference, guys. You don't have a difference because again, the parsha is the same. So Bishlema, if it's a different parsha, so I have a hakara that it's Rosh Chodesh, that it's Parsha Shkolim, because I'm laning it the whole thing. But according to my Diyam, the only chilik is in Haftarahs, but the laning's the same. So what's the difference? Rosh Chodesh, then what? Then the regular Rosh Chodesh. Yes, means the Navi. The Navi. So
because the mafta is different also.
Again, but it means Haftarahs means the Navi. Shani Di'ilu Rosh Chodashim Kari Shisa Ben Yana Diyuma. On Rosh Chodesh, you're going to have 6 laning the regular parsha. V'chad Kari Ben Rosh Chodesh. V'ilu Idna. This I don't understand, but there was to be opinion. If it's Parsha Shkolim Kari Tilsa Ben Yana Diyuma, 3 will lane in Parshas B'Shalach in my example. V'abar Kari Ben Rosh Chodesh and 4 will lane in Rosh Chodesh. Sort of seven aliyahs. That would be the distinction to make you recognize it's what it is. It is Pasha Shkolim. So again, we have Machlokes Rav and Shmuel. Rav says Tzavis Bnei Yisrael is Karbani Lachmi, and Shmuel says what? Kisisa. Meisavei. Reish Chodesh Ada Shechal Liyos b'Shabbos. Reish Chodesh Ada that falls out on Shabbos. Good. Koirim Pasha Shkolim. Umaftirim b'Hayada HaKoyin. Now, the Koyin guys are speaking about Shkolim, speaking about him, and they get together, and they're gonna, how to divide. They get together with the king. I think it's Yayash, and they get together and they're gonna speak what to do with the Shkolim. So Mishnah Kisisa Hainu Maftirin Yada Hakoyin the Damile. In other words, the Chsiv, what does it say in Bnei Yada? It says Kesef Nafshais Erchay. Again, we know that the Haftarah we spoke out beautifully. The purpose of Torah is in times they were geyser that you couldn't learn from the Torah. Good, you couldn't learn Torah. So in guarantee they wouldn't forget it. They made the Torah, and the Torah was always me'ain the parsha, so you wouldn't know what it's talking about. So Bishlema, if you tell me it's Kisisa, I know the Torah for Parsha Shkolim is what is the parsha that of Yehayada Kayin. That's discussing Shkolim. So that would reflect, if that's discussing Shkolim, then it must be the inyan of the parsha is Kisisa. But if you're telling me what it's Tzav, why would you lay in Yehayada? It has nothing to do with Karbanis. Like Rav, who says Karbani Lachmi, me dummy, says we're dummy kid Rav Tavi. Yeah, you have to have a Torah, same Torah, it's dummy kid Rav Tavi. That what the Shkolim are going to be used to go ahead and buy Karbanis. Meisavei. Chaliyos b'parshas muchala. Chaliyos b'parshas muchala. If Parsha Shkolim falls out in the Parsha that's next to it, meaning it's the same thing. Beim l'faneh beim lachreha, koirin oisa, you'll read it normally. The koirin oisa, you'll double down the next week. Guys, so is it Parsha possible for the end of Shmos to come out in Adar? Sure, it's possible. Guys, it's Shvat now. You're holding in Shmos. So is it possible for Kisisa to be Pasha Shkolim? Yeah. Is it possible Pasha's Pinchas to be Shkolim? No. That's the Kashan Rav. Right? In other words, in a scenario where Shkolim is going to be 2 weeks in a row, you lay it 2 weeks in a row. That would only be feasible if you hold it's Kisisa. Because if it's not Kisisa, it's not feasible. It's Gavalga Kasha. Says the Gemara. Chal Pasha Smuchala, Beim Lufnei Beim Lachreha, Koyunoisa, the Koyfanoisa. So Bishleim Lamandi Amakisisa, Hainad Misrame, Behu Zimna. That's what that it can happen that what? It can happen that it comes out at the same time. Almandi Amat Sav as Karbani, Sav as Karbani, Mi Misrame, Behu can it possibly come out? Behu Zimna, and that time it can't come out. So it could come out. The Bnei Marava, the people that are sold in Maskil the Raisa with Plash Shnin. We go through it once a year. In Eretz Yisrael, there were times they went through it once every 3 years. So Ken Zayin, and we're going through once every 3 years, it could fall out that Pashas Sav, Pinchas falls out in Shvat, in Adar. Tani go see the Shmuel that it's Kisisa, Reish Chodesh, Adar Shechalius B'Shabbos, Koirin Kisisa, Yulaim Kisisa, Umaftirin V'Yada Koyin, which is what we do. Amar Yitzchak Nafcha, Reish Chodesh Adar Shechalius B'Shabbos, Reish Chodesh Adar falls out on Shabbos. I feel bad. This is Benji's Sugi is not even here. Reish Chodesh Adar falls out on Shabbos. Maitzin Sholosh Teiros. You take out 3 Teiros. The Korim Behem. Echad Ben Yonish Shal Yoim. One, whatever parsha is that week. The Echad B'Shal Reish Chodesh. The Echad B'Chisisa. So you know, you have one for what? For the one for the Shabbos, one for Reish Chodesh, and one for Shkolim. Like we did this here, guys, with 3 Torah this year. One, the Echad bid the Reish Chodesh, the Echad bid the Chanukah, and one Chanukah. It's Tzricha. So l'chayra, you're telling me the same thing. So they tell me one by Pasha Shkolim, that you need 3 Torahs, and one by Pasha Shkolim. When they both fall out, Shkolim and Chanukah, which both can fall out, one in Reish Chodesh Teves and one in Reish Chodesh Adar, right? You're going to take out 3 Torahs. But Tzricha, you need to tell me both. If you tell me what Reish Chodesh Teves, Rabbi Yitzchak, Ava Bahach Kerav Svirle, or regarding Shkolim, maybe holds Kerav. Dama Pasha Shkolim as Karbani Lachmi, Ubishtei Torah Sagi, Guys, according to Rav, Rish Chodesh, Shvat, and Shkalim are the same parsha. You only need 2 Torahs. Kamash Malon, that the Allah is like Shmuel, you need 3 Torahs, and therefore, because you need one for Kisisa, which is in Parshas Shmais. So then just say Chanukah, and you wouldn't have to tell me about what? You wouldn't have to tell me Kisisa. It says Chod Mechal Chaverti. You know, Taki only said one, and you heard one Mechal the other. Okay, we'll stop over here.